So for the folks who are joining us, thank you. Welcome to the Marketing and Opportunity Analysis for Food Businesses webinar. I'm Christina Delicio. I work in the Cambridge Community Development Department as an economic development specialist. In our department, we offer many resources for small business owners, including grants, technical assistance, free trainings, and direct one-on-one assistance. A quick Google search for Economic Development Cambridge will pull up our website. You can also find it at cambridge.gov/CDD/econdev. This webinar is part of our Food Business Incubator Program workshop series. We will have another workshop in June called Budgeting for Your Food Business. I will drop a link to that in the chat or make sure that folks have access to it before this webinar is over. The Food Business Incubator Program includes our food truck program, as well as information about the city's new cottage food operations permit. Just very quickly, some housekeeping stuff. This webinar is being recorded. Attendees are all muted and with no video. If you have a question, certainly feel free to put it in the chat. I'll be monitoring that while we are going through our presentation slides. So know that if you ask a question, it won't go lost. And with that, I am thrilled to turn over the webinar to Instructor Camilla, who is the Entrepreneurship Program Manager at CommonWealth Kitchen. And we are very lucky today to also be joined by Ploy, also from CommonWealth Kitchen. And we're grateful for their guidance and their expertise today. So with that, I will pass it over to you both.
Thank you, Christina. So welcome, everyone. We're very excited to be here on behalf of CommonWealth Kitchen. I think this program is great, the incubator for food businesses, and we hope this information that I'm going to share today is useful in your entrepreneurial journey. So I will start sharing my screen, and then we can talk a little bit about ourselves, Ploy and I. So as Christina said, this is the Market and Opportunity Analysis in the Food Industry Workshop. As you know, this workshop is sponsored by the City of Cambridge Community Development Department, and Ploy and I are giving this workshop on behalf of CommonWealth Kitchen. So this is a great partnership just for you to learn more about how to launch your food business from a market and opportunity analysis perspective. So I would love if you could share in the chat if you have a business idea related to the food industry, your name, and what stage are you at right now. If you're operating that business or if you're just thinking on launching one, we would love to see that. And so today with me, while you do that, I would like to introduce Ploy. She's the Director of Educational Programs at CommonWealth Kitchen.
Hi, everyone. As Camila said, my name is Ploy. I am the Director of Educational Programs at CommonWealth Kitchen. We do all the educational supports from start of food biz to, ready to start and ready to grow programs. So we have all of that programs that we have Camila is helping.
Thank you, Ploy. And so I am the Entrepreneurship Program Manager at CommonWealth Kitchen, and I support Ploy in our educational programs, specifically our incubator program that is called Ready to Launch. And we help new businesses, like the program says, launching their startup and going through all the permit process and licenses they need to actually operate this business formally. So just to start, I would like to talk a little bit about CommonWealth Kitchen. Who are we and why are we actually giving this workshop? So CommonWealth Kitchen is the only nonprofit food business incubator in Greater Boston. And we have an amazing mission that is to build a new food economy grounded in racial, social, and economic justice. And we do that by strengthening the capacity, connections, and collective power of diverse entrepreneurs to start and grow successful food businesses. And so this mission we translated into numbers. And so in terms of our entrepreneurs, 80% of them are business owned by women, immigrants, and or people of color. So this mission, as you can see, we take it very seriously, and we love to support these communities that maybe have been historically discriminated or haven't had the same opportunities as other communities. So our agenda for today for this workshop of opportunity and market analysis is just to reach and achieve this goal. And the goal is to learn how to identify your market, the needs of your potential customers, and how your products can meet those needs. And so for that purpose, we will go over opportunity assessment, what is a market need, solution and evaluation, how can we define our target customer, what is market segmentation, and we will end this presentation with a competitor analysis. So let's start with opportunity analysis. So for this stage of the presentation, I always love to start from scratch and from the very beginning, and it's actually defining what is entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is the creation and management of a new enterprise to achieve a goal and add value. That is like the definition of what you do as an entrepreneur. And so when you launch a startup or a new business, you also have to think about three main ideas. So entrepreneurship requires an opportunity, and this opportunity can be translated into innovation. And so just to give you an example, innovation or something innovative in the food business industry could be what happened with meat substitutes like Beyond Burger, if you have heard of that, or Impossible Burger. So for those people who are vegetarians or vegans, the market and the companies wanted to create something that would substitute meat, animal and any animal meat of that sort, especially cow's meat, beef. And so they created Beyond Burger and Impossible Meat. So that would be an innovation, because before these two brands stepped into the market, there wasn't really a brand or a product like this that actually looked like and kind of tasted like meat. If we think about an opportunity as an idea, so it could be a different way of doing things. So for example, on the go snacks with different ingredient combinations and sweeteners. So maybe I would think like decades ago, we didn't have that much sweeteners or natural sweeteners as we have today. So we could only know Splenda and maybe regular cane sugar, but now we have monk fruit, we have stevia, and we have a lot of different things. So making on the go snacks with these new sweeteners that are healthier and that can appeal to that self or health conscious customer is a new way of doing things. So that could be a new idea. And when we think about an opportunity in terms of a market need, is think about what need is not being currently satisfied by a product. And so in this, we can find an example thinking about meal kits delivery for plant-based people who also have different allergies. So nowadays we have a lot of meal kits. If you have social media, you may have received a lot of different messages saying, okay, purple carrot, you can get those meal delivered to your house, or maybe fresh food or whole fresh. I know Hello Fresh. I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but Hello Fresh is another one. And so for instance, Purple Carrot is one that is focused on vegetarian meals, whereas Hello Fresh has a different type of meals. It has vegetarian, but it also has other meals that have meat in it. So if we think about an unsatisfied market need, it would be try to reconcile both business models, and it would be to find something that satisfies needs for vegetarians or vegan, but also follows different allergen things that people want to avoid, such as gluten. So that's more difficult to find. So that would be an unsatisfied market need. Now, I would like to talk about key criteria to evaluate opportunities. So these are the 5 things we need to think about when we are assessing an opportunity in the entrepreneurial aspect of our business. And so the first thing would be, how significant is the need? So always when I am talking about starting a new business, I need to think about the need. So what need am I satisfying? What is it that customers want? So when I am assessing that significance of the need, I need to think about, is the amount of potential customers large enough? Or maybe I'm just meeting a need for 2-3 customers in a neighborhood. Or is it something more large and that people are expecting to get from a product, but they currently don't have it in the market? We also need to think about how deep is the pain of the need. So I love this definition from one school of business. They were talking about opportunity analysis, and they kind of did an analogy between pain and the significance of the need in marketing. And so if it's just a headache versus a bleeding wound. So is your need or the need you're trying to meet just a headache, or is it a bleeding wound that people are trying just to stop the bleeding and it's a very important need for them? So a bleeding wound in those terms is what you want. You want a big need, a need that people are willing to pay for and to get satisfied. The second aspect you must think about when you are assessing or evaluating an opportunity is how effective is the solution you are providing. So you already identified the need, you know, let's see, I have this product that would meet this need, but now how effective is my product in as a solution meeting that need? So in terms of that analogy we talked about previously about the headache versus the bleeding wound, here also in medical terms, is my solution a vitamin or a painkiller? So if it's a vitamin, maybe it's something that may meet that need that the customer has, but doesn't really change the life of that customer or doesn't really bring a strong value proposition. So we're going to talk about value proposition in just a bit. The third aspect we need to think about when assessing opportunities is, will there be a gross margin? So that gross margin is directly related to the price our customers will pay. So we need to think about the willingness and the ability of the customers we are trying to target to pay for our product. So are they willing to pay for this product? Is my target market willing to pay for it? And does it have the ability and the economic resources to do so? We also need to think about, in terms of gross margin, of the cost efficiency of the solution and the concept. So for instance, if I want to launch a brand that does healthy food, but then it's something really different to cook healthy food at home versus producing large scale at a shared kitchen or a co-manufacturing facility. So there may be some things that is easier to produce at home and that are super healthy, but are not sustainable if I am trying to scale my business up. So if it takes a long time to produce one ingredient that's only a part of my product, that is not going to be cost efficient, and in terms of margin is not going to be attractive for me and to be able to make money. And we also have to think about the competitive intensity in the market and the industry. So we're going to talk about at the end of this presentation about competitive analysis, but in terms of margin, we also have to think about, okay, how much are my competitors charging for this product? Is my product different from the product they offer? The fourth aspect we need to think about as key criteria to evaluate opportunities is, how hard will it be for me to acquire customers? So are those customers easy to identify? How can I reach them? These are all things that I need to think about to actually be able to sell my product and make a profit. And the fifth aspect is, am I the best person to go after this opportunity? And this doesn't have anything to do with your entrepreneurial grit, or if you are smart or you're not. This actually has to do with, does this product and this idea of a business match my passions and my capabilities? So for instance, in access to required resources, who could be a valuable team member? So for example, if I am very great in the kitchen and I love innovating and creating new recipes, and I'm an amazing chef and I have a great trajectory as a chef, but I am awful with finances, I am awful talking, I cannot actually sell my product or my business model to someone, how about I think, how can I think about of an additional team member that could help me accelerate my business and make it grow? So I could think about someone that's good with numbers, someone that's actually interested and cares about my product or my business. And so this person can bring in new skills to help me grow my business, and we could become partners, or maybe we can find another way of a different partnership that doesn't include participation in the actual business or entity, or someone I just can hire to bring in the skills that I am not so strong at. So now we can talk about the market need. What is the market need? So understanding user needs is critical to ensure that product development is directed and effective. If I cannot understand my customers, if I cannot understand the market, it is going to be very difficult for me to develop a product that is going to be effective and that someone will buy. So without user research, the chances of failure are very high, because you might create maybe a food product or a food business that is not really important or relevant to the customer. And even if it is relevant to them, you can create it the wrong way and end up losing time. So that's why customer knowledge is so important. And so here I have a few ways of how to gather data from customers. So one way is to do surveys. So surveys are great for specific questions like pricing and product features. And something I really like mentioning in this type of classes is use social media. Social media is a great tool and it's free. So for instance, what I used to do back in Colombia, I'm originally from Colombia, and I wanted to launch a plant-based bakery. And so I was a member of different Facebook groups for vegans and vegetarians back in Colombia. And so people are really supportive because they share values. They're interested in supporting other vegans or plant-based people who want to start their entrepreneurial endeavors. And so one of the first ways I started to kind of acquire some information and get to know my customer was actually posting in these groups and saying, hey, I have this idea of developing this product. This would be the characteristics of my product. I'm thinking of a bakery that's sugar-free. And so I started kind of sharing with them the concept. And the feedback I got was amazing in terms of customer knowledge, because I could really understand what people were looking for. I also could see that different people have different needs. And so, for instance, for some vegans that are ethical vegans and not because of health, they couldn't care less about the sugar content. But then the people who also are vegans from an ethical standpoint, but also want to be healthy, they do care about the sweeteners and the fat content and the sugar content. And so those Facebook groups were amazing for me to do some free, together for free data from customers. So that's like a great idea to do this, and it's not expensive at all. Another way to acquire information from potential customers is to do interviews, and not just to potential customers, but also all relevant stakeholders. So potential buyers, distributors, industry leaders, maybe some friends that already have a business in the food industry. So how about interviewing them, asking them some questions about how they created their value proposition, how did they came up with the product they are currently offering. So that is very helpful, because you also can have other entrepreneurs or people from the industry to be your mentors. Also, if you don't know anyone from the food industry, you could also look for some nonprofits or maybe other organizations that have contacts with mentors that would be willing to give advice to potential food businesses. So that's another way of interviewing these people. A third way of acquiring information from potential customers is online resources. So seeking or looking for food-related data sources. So for instance, the federal statistical agencies and the private sector develop and maintain a wide variety of data on various aspects of food markets and consumer choice behavior. So kind of having access to these data is critical for you to understand consumer behavior in the US and maybe in your particular region where you are trying to launch your product. So types of data you can find in these places, and it would be store sales, consumer purchases, consumption habits, availability of the food, and also other food related aspects. So actually at the end of this presentation, I have some resources where you can access this kind of data, particularly from the Economic Research Service of the US Department of Agriculture. So I really encourage you to kind of visit this link, learn a little bit more about the specific area within the food industry that you're trying to launch your product about. And so that would be very helpful for you. So what does happen after you gather the data? So you already did your research, you did very well, you did interviews, you did surveys, you also went to and found all this data about consumer behavior. What do you do now? So the first thing is just not leave the information there and continue as it goes, but actually interpret this data. So what were the main conclusions you found from these interviews? If you interviewed someone or did some surveys, try to organize the needs of people or potential consumers into different types. I'm going to talk about the types of needs later in this presentation, and also establish relative importance of the needs. So this is so important after you gather all this information, because you will be able to focus on the features for your product that really matter. So one of the things I've seen working at CommonWealth Kitchen is that sometimes people focus on features that are not really relevant to the customer. So some people get to CommonWealth Kitchen thinking like, I want to do a healthy product and I want all of my ingredients to be organic. And so when they start producing or making their product, they realize that organic ingredients are really expensive. And so then it comes down to, okay, what is the type of product I want to make? What are my known negotiables? If I want a healthy product, not necessarily having all the ingredients being organic should be the priority. So how about I just have some of the ingredients that can be organic and others I can just have regular ingredients. So sometimes we need to kind of assess the situation and focus on the things and the features that are really relevant to the customer. We have two types of customers in this example. We have the customer that really focuses on organic and wants everything to be organic and wants the organic certification. But we also have the health conscious person that doesn't really care that all the ingredients are organic, and that person usually focuses more on the nutritional content of the product. And so why is customer research important? It helps prioritize customer requirements. It helps you avoid focusing on features that you think are important but are not relevant for the customer, like I just explained. And also it helps you reduce the number of product versions needed to arrive at product market fit. So what does it mean, reduce the number of product versions? So if I have knowledge of my customer, I know exactly the type of product I want to create. This doesn't mean that my product won't have iterations later on, because we can always improve, but this just means that I am going to my goal is to meet those needs that I previously identified. Whereas if I don't have knowledge of my potential customer, I may produce a product that is not going to be relevant for them, and I will end up losing money creating new versions of this product to eventually be able to meet the need I was trying to meet. So let's talk now about product versus market. So if you can remember anything from this workshop, it would be that customers buy value. They don't buy your product per se. They of course do, because they pay money to buy your granola bar or whatever you're selling. But essentially customers are buying value. What does this mean? So a customer has needs and expectations. And so the company, or as a business owner, what should you do to meet those customer needs and expectations? Like we already said, we have to know the customer. We have to gather information, and with that information, create a value proposition. And this value proposition is going to allow us to think about market segmentation. So I want to propose a value within my product. Now, who is this product going to, what type of what segment of the market is this product going to reach? So I have to think about those things. So in terms of these arrows you see here, companies need to develop customer knowledge. And so we have to kind of think about the specific characteristics of food products. A food product is very different from any other product you could buy. So for instance, food products are experience products. So both food and beverages are experience products because the customer finds it very difficult to anticipate the quality of the product. And in order to actually assess the quality of the product, they need to try it. But if you go to the grocery store and you see this brand new granola bar, you cannot just open it and try it. Because if you do that, you would have to pay for the product. So what the customer does is rely on quality clues and not actually trying the product, because if they do, they would have to buy it. So this is why for customers, it is very difficult to anticipate the quality of food products, and they use quality clues to try to figure out the real quality of the product before consuming it, which is very difficult. Second thing we have to take into account is the decision-making process of customers. So once companies have customer knowledge, they can develop a value proposition, as you can see here. However, not all customers have the same value propositions or don't seek the same needs to be met. And for this reason, a company needs to do market segmentation and choose a target market it wants to serve before designating a value proposition. So at CommonWealth Kitchen, when Chloe and I teach some of the workshops, we always say, if you try to reach everyone, you are going to end up reaching no one. And that's because you have to choose something or someone to target. So your customer persona. How does this person look like? We're going to talk about the different characteristics we need to pinpoint when thinking about a customer persona. So in the decision-making process here, we talked a little bit about this in the previous slide. So here is expected value plus perceived value equals customer satisfaction. So what is expected value? So the expected value is how, like what the name or the word says, the expectation that the customer has. And this is comprised by two different things. So why consumers buy, that's the motivation behind buying a certain product, and also what consumers know, that's the knowledge they have of either your product or the brand. Because there are some, so for instance, if I am buying alternative milks that are not from the cow's milk. So like Silk. Silk is a brand that has oat milk and has soy milk. So I know that Silk is a brand that I can associate to plant-based milks, and it has a certain reputation. So whenever they introduce a new product that has nothing to do with plant-based milk, I already have a reference of, okay, they are a good brand. I like their plant-based milk. Maybe I'm going to try this other product they are trying to launch. And now about perceived value, it has to do with the experience and the knowledge. So how can I experience this product, or what does this brand tell me? For instance, what's the personality of this brand? And also, like I said, the knowledge of the brand or the perceived knowledge I have about something. And both these things combined, expected value and perceived value, create customer satisfaction. So what is value proposition? So value proposition is a concept that makes the product consistent with the market. And so that means that my product actually meets a need that the customers have. So customers buy because they want to satisfy needs or desires, and they want to get some benefits out of the product and the service they buy, of course. So customer value is the combination of benefits consumers want to get out of the product you are producing or making and the services they buy. They want to get some benefits, of course. If you want to meet a need by buying a product, of course, you're expecting benefits from that product. And so what customers want and what everybody wants is that those benefits that the product brings to someone outweigh the sacrifices. So we're going to talk about the sacrifices that a customer may incur when buying a product. So actually, sacrifices are the negative aspects of customer value. So we're going to see here that customer value is actually a ratio of benefits over sacrifices. And so when we talk about value proposition, we can pinpoint different features that we need to think about. So one of the features is the product per se. The second feature is the price. What is my price range? How am I going to price this product? And how does this price look like in comparison to my competitors? Another feature of value proposition is the availability of this product. Is it easy to find? Is it a snack I can just grab on the go? Is it on all the stores that I frequently go to, or do I have to go to a specialty retail store to get it? Another feature is the image of the company and the product. Another aspect is the reputation of both the product and the company. They're very interrelated. And the last one are the quality clues. So bottom line, the customer will buy if there is a connection between the features of the product. So all these things we talked about: product, price, availability, image, reputation, quality clues. So if there's a connection between all those aspects and the value proposition I am creating with my product and the benefit my customer wants to get. So that's the way kind of the decision process of a customer works if you can combine all these three things. So just to give some examples about the quality clues we are talking about is, for instance, a lot of people associate a high price for a product with high quality. So that's perceived value. It doesn't mean it's true, but a lot of people think if something is more expensive, it's going to be of a higher quality. And so that may influence their decision-making process. Another quality clue can be reputation, as I already talked about with the example of silk. So if people know the brand and they have knowledge of this brand, they will be more prone to try a new product this company is launching. Also the image of the shop where the product is sold. So if I am the type of person who prefers to go to specialty retail store or local stores, or for instance, I live in Cambridge, and so we have Pemberton Farms really close by, so it's a specialty retail store. There's a whole feel to the store. You can actually buy on Christmas trees and many different things, so it's like a very homey place. If that's the type of place I am seeking to frequent and go and buy my products, I need to think, where do I want to have my product? Do I want people to associate my product to this kind of store like Pemberton Farms, or do I want them to associate it to a bigger brand like Stop and Shop, Whole Foods, etc.? And also other quality clues can also be the awards the brand has won, also the reviews by experts or critics about a certain company or a product. Those are also quality clues. Now, in terms of the type of benefits. So if you remember, I talked about when you gather information about your potential customer, you have to interpret that information, but also classify those benefits or the needs that people are trying to meet with the product into different types of benefits. So essentially, people are seeking through two types of different benefits. The first one is functional benefits. So these are problems that need to be solved. So for instance, in the food industry, if I am looking for an energetic food or something that's healthy, light, or that the process of purchase is easy, so it's convenient, those are functional benefits I'm seeking in a product. And in terms of the psychological, symbolical, and experiential benefits, we have taste, because taste, of course, is experiential. I am not able to know how this product is going to taste until I actually do eat that product. So that's experiential. Symbolical can be all those benefits that are attached to things like national identity. So because this is a way that people reaffirm their identity. So if I find a product that has a specific national identity, I may be more influenced to buy it. And one of the examples I like to think about is when I shop for bananas. And so when I go to Whole Foods and I see different types of bananas, I see bananas from Costa Rica, I see bananas from Ecuador, but I'm from Colombia. And whenever I find bananas from Colombia, I buy the bananas from Colombia because I like to support local farmers from my country and actually create demand for those people. And in some sort of way, I think I'm helping the producers back in my country. So that's something that influences my decision making when I am acting as a customer, because I would definitely choose something that is or that was made in my home country just to support that. And that's a symbolical benefit for me. We also have self-image and self-perception benefits that are more linked to psychological aspects of the consumer, and also other benefits that can communicate or not a belonging to a social group. So there's actually, while I was making this presentation, I was thinking about an example we had at CommonWealth Kitchen. And so there's one of our entrepreneurs that's called Meal Mantra. So this brand is a brand of Indian curry sauces that are currently selling at Whole Foods and other places. And so if I think about the functional benefits of Meal Mantra, I can think they are healthy and they are easy to prepare. So they are solving two problems. One is my preoccupation or my health conscious part as a consumer, but also the fact that it's easy to prepare. It's also kind of meeting that need of, I just want to spend 5 to 10 minutes making my dinner, and that's it because I don't have more time. So those are the two benefits, the two functional benefits that I am meeting when I buy a Meal Mantra jar. If I think about the symbolic benefits, so actually Meal Mantra was created, like one of the co-founders, her grandfather invented the tandoori cuisine. And so that's something I would like to be associated with, just kind of supporting that and kind of valuing that story behind the product. That's a symbolic benefit for me as a consumer. So when we talk about the part of sacrifices, we can talk about 6 specific things customers have to go through when buying a product. The first one is price, of course. If I want to eat something, I have to pay for it, and that means I'm gonna make a financial sacrifice of acquiring a product. The second one is decision-making process, and so collecting the information, and that takes time. So like I said with the previous example, if I am a health-conscious consumer, I want to take time looking at the nutritional content of different jars at the supermarket, and so that's going to take time. So that's a sacrifice consumers make when buying a product. The third one is procurement, and so finding the product in a place that I usually frequent or a place where I usually buy groceries, or actually having to go to another store to buy them. The fourth one is learning cost. So how to use the product and get the most out of it. So for instance, if I'm using this Indian curry sauce, I need to learn how to use it and what's going to be the sweet spot for me. So if I want to use it twice and I want to divide the jar into 2 different meals, so is it gonna work if I add a little bit of water, or it's not going to taste good? So all these things that have to do with the use of the product, of course, have a learning cost. The fifth sacrifice is opportunity cost. So this is just related to the fact that if I buy a product, it means that I am not buying the product from the competitor. So that's the opportunity cost, that I don't know how the other product is going to taste, if the other product is better because I chose to buy this one. And the sixth sacrifice is the switching cost. So this is related to the change of a supplier or a product I used to buy. So if I used to buy already Indian curry sauces and I'm switching to Meal Mantra, there's a switching cost. So maybe this one is a little bit more expensive, or this one I need to learn how to use it, or maybe I cannot find this Indian curry sauce at the retail store I used to buy the other Indian curry sauce. So now we can talk about market segmentation and target market. How does all the things we have talked about come into one place, and how can we put them into practice? So when we talk about targeting and market segmentation, we must understand that it is a process. We cannot just say when we are launching a business, okay, this is going to be my target customer, and this is never going to change, because that's very difficult. You'll see that when you launch a food business, you would try to adjust. For instance, you can start at farmers markets when you can get some feedback. So you go and you make some samples at the farmers markets, or maybe people say, oh, I love your product, or I think you should improve this or that. So it's always a process. So our target market as well as market segmentation is a process that needs to be adapted while you are growing with your business. So there are different steps of market segmentation, as we see here. The first one is identify the segmentation criteria. So what are those criteria? They are the characteristics according to which different consumers can be grouped together. And we'll see we can find geographical characteristics, also social characteristics, as we will see in the next couple of slides. The second step is customer profiling. So identify what other variables that may be more specific can better describe those customers and differentiate them from others from other sectors and other market segments. The third step would be assessing attractiveness of each market segment. So is this market segment that I'm choosing and these people I'm trying to market my product to financially attractive? So can these people actually buy my product? Do they have the resources to do so? How about my competitive attractiveness? So how fierce is the competition in terms of the product I'm trying to launch? Is it very crowded? So for instance, a decade ago, we didn't have that much healthy granola bars, but now we have like 30 different brands at Whole Foods, and you go there to that stand and you're like, what should I buy now? Like there's a lot of offerings when it comes to these granola bars, whereas 10 years ago, the competitive aspect of it, or the competitive attractiveness, was bigger because people were just trying to innovate and create new granola bars. I can also think about the non-financial returns and how those could be attractive. So the image of the company, the reputation it can get in terms of competence, and if it has, if it's serving a certain market segment. And so when we talk about market segmentation, we talk about grouping customers together according to some similarities in terms of their expectations. So remember that always expectations and needs when it comes to customers are very, very important. And when we accomplish this market segmentation and kind of design or identify what are the different markets that we are going to segment, we have to assign one value proposition to each market segment. And that's how we decide what type of customer we are pursuing. So in terms of assessment, we need to think about the individual characteristics of our customers or potential customers. So there are some of the difference between segments, and they have to do with individual characteristics of our potential customers. One feature can be demographic. So we can think about the age of the person I'm trying to target to, the gender. So maybe if I am just going to market to women or to men, residents or the place they live, what are the neighborhoods these people live, the people that I'm trying to reach with my product. Also native language or culture, that's also demographic features. Social characteristics. So social networks these people belong to, or maybe their profession, their careers. How does it look like for my potential customer? So again, these social characteristics, we can see them as groups of people. So for instance, groups of friends or people who are health conscious in specific cities or specific social circles. So for instance, California. So California has a lot of people who are health conscious, and sports and working out and having a balanced life is something that is very important to most of the social groups in California. So this is something this is a social characteristic you could target with your product if you're selling in California. 3 are the values. So for instance, some dietary restrictions or some consumer choices in terms of food that people pursue because of religious or ethical reasons. Those would be values associated with a particular target segment, market segment, sorry. And fourth, we have the psychological characteristics. So are these people I'm trying to reach extroverted or introverted, or are they conservative? Are they sensitive for innovation? Are they risk adverse or risk prone? So for instance, if I am pursuing a customer that is risk adverse, I am not trying to do a very innovative product because this person will most probably buy it because they are like, I'm not sure if I want to try a new product. I would like to maybe do some research on this brand before I actually buy this product, which I don't know nothing about. And so, of course, the last one we have here is the benefit kind of segmentation, and this is the most important one. So we should definitely divide our market or our potential customers according to the benefits they are trying to meet or get from our product. So in terms of our targeting, what is targeting? So it's a group of buyers and or consumers who share common needs and or wants or characteristics and in which the entrepreneur focuses on. So this is the target. The target is the group of people I'm going to focus on and I'm going to market to. So choosing the segments I want to sell to is going to make it easy to target those people and actually try to direct all my marketing efforts and everything I do to reach this type of people. So what are the steps to target the segments you have chosen? The first one, as we said, choose one market segment to focus on. There are some companies that choose more than one market segment, but I highly recommend just to focus on one as you're starting. So just try to define that customer persona. What is the age of that person or that ideal customer? Is it a woman? Is it a man? What are the specific characteristics of these people? The second would be, as I just said, use individual characteristics in your chosen market segment to get even more specific. Like I just said, what are the social aspects? What are the values and the benefits they're seeking? The more you can narrow down your customer persona, the better. You may think that this is very specific and maybe there's some fear around choosing such a specific customer persona, but believe me, it is best to do that because you're going to reach that type of people. If there's a market for it, believe me, people will buy your product. Whereas if you try to reach everyone, chances are that you will not end up reaching someone, or someone will not buy your product. And the third step would be target the markets with your product and brand. So after you choose the market, after you define what are the specific characteristics of this target customer, then actually target the market and start selling your product to these type of people. So this is a very interesting exercise I like to do after we talk about targeting and market segmentation and opportunity analysis. Since we will be sharing the deck with you, I would highly suggest to come back to this slide and do this exercise. So this is kind of a very practical way of crafting your pitch. So if you are just in the idea stage of your business, think about what would your target audience be? Just think about it and try to narrow down your customer persona. Then think about who is this person and what is the need this person is trying to satisfy? What is the benefit they are seeking? Think about the product name or the brand you're trying to sell. Then think about the key benefits that your product offers to people. What are the differentiators from competition? And unlike the competitors, so think about what other brands or existing brands, even if they are product companies or catering businesses or other food trucks, that would be your direct competition. And then the last line would be to think about what you do differently. What is your value proposition? What is your unique value proposition? And how are you going to stand out? And what are you doing different from your competitors? And so talking about competitors, we're going to end up with a competitor analysis. And this is just very simple. You have to also spend quite a time thinking about this specific idea of competition, but just think about positioning. So we already talked about that when we are thinking about marketing and opportunity analysis, we think in terms of value proposition, because that value proposition is what customers buy. So how do you position your product so that people will actually buy it? So you need to think about the points of parity versus the points of difference with regards to other companies. So what are those points of parity, or those things I share with other competitors? They don't differentiate. Whereas the point of difference is what makes you unique and what you're bringing to the table. So this is very useful to think about what the points of parity are within your market segment, or your market you're trying to target, and also the points of difference, or in how your brand is different from others. So these are the additional resources I wanted to share with all of you. I have the SBA Business Guide of Market Research and Competitive Analysis. So here you can learn more about what I just talked about today. I highly recommend kind of visiting the SBA learning platform, because they have different free courses and workshops that can be very beneficial for all of you. I would also highly recommend you to attend our workshop, Start a Food Biz. So this is a free online workshop of 2 hours, and the next one is going to be next Wednesday at 5 p.m. And we would love to see you there. So in this 2-hour workshop, we are going to talk about what are the necessary aspects, or what does it take to build a food business and launch a food business, whether it is a food truck, a catering business, or a consumer packaged good business. And I also would suggest to look into the Center for Women and Enterprise. They also have great free resources ranging from bookkeeping to also social media and all things you need to take into account in order to launch or grow and scale your business. And last but not least, there's the food availability and consumption statistics from the USDA. So I would highly recommend, if you are doing all these steps of market and opportunity analysis and you're trying to gather some data from these resources, please do visit this link. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, we can open it up. And also I forgot, there's also an exercise, a very helpful one that will cover all the topics we talked about today. Christina has this exercise, so I would highly encourage you to go to this page and just kind of read all the questions, do all exercises, because I'm sure it's going to help you identify how all this information we learned about today can match and actually make sense for your idea of a food business.
That is great. Thank you so very much, Camilla. There's so much great information here. And I think what we will probably do is, when we share out the slides at the end, we'll of course include the little exercise that you provided us. It's a really helpful tool, and I can't thank you enough for it. We are just at about time. So if there are questions that folks have, they can certainly put it into the chat, and we'll make sure to read it aloud for folks to hear. So we'll take just maybe 1 minute to see if folks have questions that they want to submit. I don't know, Camilla and Floy, are you able to stay for maybe just 1 or 2 minutes after 7? I know we got started a couple minutes after 6 o'clock. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Well, I don't know if anyone has got one that they're submitting. I think One of the things that I know we're very excited about here in economic development is that we get a chance to see you again in just a few weeks for the next workshop for budgeting for your food business. So I think for folks who have attended tonight, that would be an excellent workshop to join. Obviously, a great two-part system. And to please check out the resources that both Camilla and Floy have mentioned today. We really appreciate the links that have been dropped into the chat. It doesn't seem like maybe we've got something else coming in. Oh, a recording of the workshop. Yes, we will, since we have been recording this, we will post it to the community development website. So when we've got that up, we can send a notice out to attendees that it's ready for viewing. So thank you for that question. Any other last thoughts before we sign off, Camilla and Floy? It's been such a joy to have you both.
Thank you so much, Christina. I was very excited to give this workshop, and yeah, we look forward to the budgeting for your food business workshop as well.
That would be great. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. It's still a lovely day out there and it's still late out. So there's a chance to enjoy some of the true spring weather that seems to have shown up today. So thanks again to our wonderful hosts and to everyone who was able to join. And hopefully we'll see you all in a couple weeks.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, folks.